December 5th, God's people fail. 2 Chronicles 36:11 through 21. These verses describe Israel's final Davidic king. Zedekiah was 21 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 11 years in Jerusalem. He did what was evil in the sight of Yahweh his God. He did not humble himself before Jeremiah the prophet, who spoke from the mouth of Yahweh. He also rebelled against King Nebuchadnezzar, who had made him swear by God. He stiffened his neck and hardened his heart against turning to Yahweh, the God of Israel. All the officers of the priests and the people likewise were exceedingly unfaithful, following all the abominations of the nations, and they polluted the house of Yahweh that he had made holy in Jerusalem. Yahweh, the God of their fathers, sent persistently to them his messengers, because he had compassion on his people and on his dwelling place. But they kept mocking the messengers of God, despising his words and scoffing at his prophets, until the wrath of Yahweh rose against his people, until there was no remedy. Therefore he brought up against them the king of the Chaldeans, who killed their young men with the sword in the house of their sanctuary, and had no compassion on young man or virgin, old man or aged. He gave them all into his hand. And all the vessels of the house of God, great and small, and the treasures of the house of Yahweh, and the treasures of the king and of his princes, all these he brought to Babylon. And they burned the house of God, and broke down the wall of Jerusalem, and burned all its palaces with fire, and destroyed all its precious vessels. He took into exile in Babylon those who had escaped from the sword, and they became servants to him and to his sons until the establishment of the kingdom of Persia, to fulfill the word of Yahweh by the mouth of Jeremiah, until the land had enjoyed its Sabbaths. All the days that it lay desolate, it kept Sabbath, to fulfill 70 years. For several centuries longer, God sustained the lineage of King David, even though many of his descendants who sat on the throne in Jerusalem refused to trust in God as David had. For centuries, God warned his people through the prophets he sent to them, but they continued in their many infidelities, even going to the outskirts of Jerusalem in the morning to burn their own children in pagan worship to the god Molech, and then glibly marching into Solomon's temple in the evening to worship Yahweh. God could tolerate it no longer, and the period of the kings came to an end. The temple was destroyed, and the Davidic king was taken into exile, stripped of his throne. The people had expected that God would never allow David's lineage to fall, nor Solomon's temple to be destroyed. They were wrong on both counts. God cannot bless disobedience. Israel now enters into one of its darkest periods, the exile in Babylon, land of the Chaldeans. But God has not forgotten his promises to Abraham, to Israel through Moses, or to David. Despite the failures of God's people, Jesus is still coming.